Welcome, Kate. How are you going today?
I'm really well, thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. So, as you know, I've invited you here to give a little bit of a taste of your words of wisdom in that around a concern, a question that our members have been bringing up with us lately. And first of all, I just want to introduce you a little bit and ask you a question about your relationship with your body growing up. So, I'd love to know about what the message was about your body through your childhood.
I was really lucky in that my first experience of my body being positive or negative was overwhelmingly positive, and I thank my mother for that. She really instilled in me the idea that my body was strong and functional and was
Wow.
amazing.
That's so cool. That's really rare, I have to
Very
say.
rare. I'm very
And
grateful.
and so when did things shift for you? And what other messages come up?
That definitely shifted when I went to boarding school in year 7. So I was 12. Lots of other girls with lots of other body shapes who I think had lots of different experiences to mine growing up. And a big focus on fashion and the latest Dolly magazine and a shift then to what famous people looked like. And there was a lot
Yeah,
of negative self-talk around that.
that sounds really familiar to me as well.
Mm.
So can you tell me a little bit more about how that's led to the work that you do now and why you're so passionate about the work you do now?
Well, soon after actually that studying at boarding school, I developed a hideous eating disorder that really dominated my life for the next 10 years. And when I dragged myself out of that experience, I realized what I was missing out on, became a chef for 10 years or 15 years. And from that became a nutritionist. And my focus on nutrition is helping people overwhelmed by food, because I do not want people to go through what I went through. And I want to share my experience of food being supportive of good health, physical and mental, it being joyful, it being delicious, and it being a way we celebrate. It's so much more than just eating.
Yeah, it gets really neglected, that whole side of it, the joyful
Mm.
eating and the celebration and stuff. I think it's a really powerful, important part of relationship with food. Well, it's always tough looking back at those experiences that we have, those negative things, but often it's what's really drawn us to this field of work, and the world is really lucky to have somebody like you. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
all the work you do. I would love to hear your thoughts on this really big concern that a member has shared with us, and I think it is quite indicative of a lot of other people feeling quite similar thoughts. So I'm going to read out word for word what the client has shared with us anonymously, and the concern is body shame is off the charts. I feel like I'll never accept this body of mine. I feel like I'm going backwards in self-acceptance, and diet thoughts are creeping in constantly. Even though my experiences with diets have been terrible, it's very seductive at the moment. I feel I'm doubting all of my beliefs about HAES, about health at every size. But in my heart, I know it's not the case, but still the diet culture voice is very loud. And it's not really a question, but it's a massive concern that's very upsetting right now. So I just first of all want to thank the member for sharing that and being quite, vulnerable and sharing that. And like I said, I think it is something that a lot of us can resonate with at the moment. And that seductive diet culture voice can be super strong, especially at a time like this when our anxiety can be a bit out of control. So Kate, I'd love to hear how you would respond to this kind of concern.
Well, I mean, the thing that really stood out for me when I read that and listening to you now is the word seductive. And the industries which profit from diet culture, and let's be clear that it's just a financial transaction to them, rely on you feeling all them emotions, and particularly negative emotions. They want you feeling scared and guilty and overwhelmed. And if you are feeling vulnerable, you are in a place where they can offer you the appearance of a solution.
Yeah.
And seductive, when you look at actually what seductive means, it means that it makes you want to believe something because it seems attractive. So it's an illusion. It's a very seductive and attractive and safe illusion, but it is just a mirage. And
It's so great to hear that just so clearly, and because I think diet culture does make us forget, even like when we know it all and we know intuitively and we've experienced really negative stuff with diets, but then it still draws you back in with those promises.
Yeah, they promise you weight loss, they promise you happiness. Sometimes they promise you health, but that's not a given. They offer you a structure because they want you to believe that you can't make choices on your own. So let us make this choice for you. Let's decide what you're going to eat. And that's really attractive because we've been conditioned to believe that we can't trust ourselves or our hunger. And in this current climate, if you're prone to a bit of anxiety about that, like you're more prone to being vulnerable to that message.
Yeah, it really kills me when I hear this kind of stuff, and when you have the knowledge and you know what diet culture is and you know what it's doing, and you can see that it is this really nasty trick of preying on people in these moments of insecurities and moments of vulnerability. Yeah, it's a real shame. Yeah. So do you have any sort of specific tips or tools or anything that you could that you would give to your clients if they presented with this?
Absolutely. I have 3 very practical tips and I'm really excited to share. The first one is just a mindset statement. Fear isn't fact. Rather than trying to argue with yourself and talk yourself down from the ledge and tell yourself that you shouldn't be feeling the way you're feeling, accept the way you're feeling, but your fears aren't fact. They are fears. And you can still experience them and make other choices. So that's really clear. And we all feel, even now, everyone's feeling anxious, scared about lots of different things, not necessarily things relating to our bodies and what we eat. But I think it's a really good statement. Fear isn't fact.
That's fantastic.
So that's quite
one on my mind.
Yeah, it's quite liberating. Fears aren't facts. So that's just a mindset statement to sort of draw you back to what you need. And let's look practically. What does diet culture offer you? It offers you some structure. Right. So let's look at how you can put some structure in your own day. That's not one that's imposed by diet culture. So let's look at some healthy habits which we know are good for everyone that can help make you feel energized. They're really basic, but let's look at things that help you feel your best. So there are some that will be unique to each member and they can add those if they like, but we know there are some things which are good for everybody. Are you getting 5 serves of different colored vegetables a day? Preferably a cup of leafy greens, 4 serves of other colored. Yes, white is a color. Potatoes are included in that. They're delicious. Are you getting 1.5 to 2 liters of water a day? We know that the first sign of being mildly dehydrated is fatigue, and everyone's probably feeling a bit more lethargic at the moment. Mentally and physically, that's a good one. Are you moving your body each day in a joyful way? Really important at the moment if you're spending more time indoors, because I think just even getting out in the fresh air to do anything gives you a good physical and mental break. That's really important. Are you getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night? Put down your phone, people. Stop scrolling when you're in bed. Those are the 4 basic things that give your day a bit of structure and are going to make you feel better. So that's supportive.
Without the diet, for sure.
Without the diet culture. If you are already there and there are other habits that help you feel better throughout the day, if you go to the toilet every day when you include some high fiber whole grains, add that. If you feel better when you have green tea instead of too much coffee, whatever's personal for you is when you can add those. But if diet culture is enticing because it gives you structure, put some structure in your day, the things that make you feel calmly energized and with purpose.
I think those things that you've listed too, are generally self-care behaviors, Ryan. That's like the fundamentals of self-care. And I always, hydration and sleep. These are fundamental self-care things. And I find definitely myself, I can tend to neglect those when I'm in the mindset that is attracted to diet culture and that. And I would say with the movement thing too, like I think even moving your body, even if you don't move it every day, that's okay too. Just you know, maybe it's just stretching through the day or something like that.
Absolutely.
Structured exercise. And I would say even with the food, I love the color thing, but I would say be gentle with that too, just because that can trigger, you know, having any kind of rules and things can trigger diet mentality. But yeah, feeling satisfied with what you're choosing to consume is really important. And did you have a third? Is that our two?
I did, and you've sort of touched on it with the self-care. So, you know, diet culture relies on you feeling vulnerable. So how do you feel less vulnerable? And I'm not a big fan of the word self-care, because self-care makes me think that you sort of enjoy self-care when you least need it. Sort of conjures up ideas of bubble baths and flutes of champagne, gentle music and candles.
It's co-opted in that, I think, a lot.
It is. So I prefer to look at this. When I talk about self-care with my clients, I ask them, how do you call your power back in? What do you do that makes you feel like yourself, you know, your best self? How do you feel supported? And this is where you can look at your emotional toolbox and building that throughout the day. So what are the things that make you feel less vulnerable to this message? Is connection with friends or family, you know, part of that? Is movement part of that? Is something calming part of that toolbox? Do you need to meditate each day? Pleasure, you know, do you have a favorite movie you watch? Do you have a favorite biscuit you like to dunk in your favorite cup of tea? Is that something that brings you a little spark of joy? Repetition, do you like coloring in or crosswords or playing music? Laughter, what's your favorite funny thing to watch on YouTube? Mindfulness, do you like journaling? Does that center you back and make you feel you're strong and powerful? Do you need some support? Do you need to share the workload at home or at work, or do you need to talk to someone? You know, what are the ways that bring you back into your seat of power? You know, we could call that self-care, and make you less prone to that message in the first place.
That's so great, because often when people talk about self-care, it is a little bit tinged with bubble bath, getting your nails done and stuff. But and even when we talk about self-care, like I think about self-care as those kind of fundamental things that you just need to take care of this machine, like sleep and that. But also from a perspective, like you just said, of like bringing it back to your own, like what brings you back into your own power. It's like really putting the individual spin on it, because often we can kind of read those things about self-care where I should be just meditating, or I should be going for a walk or whatever. But if that's not really what you need, what really serves you and what really satisfies your soul and your being, then that's not going to really serve you that well. But there are so many things that we can be doing, but it's choosing the ones that really give us what we need. So that's a lovely tip. I love that.
Yeah, and when you identify those, put those in your day or your week. Like now's the time to actually go, right, how can I actively include that in my day?
And that can be the element of structure that, like looking at diet culture, giving you structure. Maybe this is a way to get that structure that has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. Schedule that phone call with a friend or your sister, or, you know, pick that time when you're listening to your favorite music or playing your favorite music.
It's never been a better time to do video calling with your friends. So
absolutely.
Oh, Kate, they are so helpful. Great tips. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. And just quickly, if people do want to reach out to you personally, individually, how can they get in touch with you?
They can jump on my website at katespinanutrition.com, or they can send me a message on Instagram. I love questions and I love messages. So if there's anything you want to know, hit me up.
Well, you're a great question answer and very eloquent, so I really appreciate it. We'll sign off now, but thank you for your time, and I will also share your details when I share this with our members.
Thank you. It's
Thanks,
my pleasure.
Kate.